Good evening, Dr. Chu. I decided to do my presentation on mechanical engineering. Let's get started. So, closer look, mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering is one of those fields of engineering that's extremely versatile. It's the broadest of all engineering disciplines. Um, there's actually a bunch of subfields for engineering, mechanical engineering being one of them. Focuses on the design, analysis, and manufacturing of all mechanical systems. Um, there's a ton of potential projects that you can work on as a mechanical engineer. You can pursue a career in a lot of different fields. Some of those fields are mechatronics, manufacturing, automotive, heating and air conditioning, materials, robotics, combustion engines, construction, even the energy sector. Mechanical engineers can basically be found in any industry, in any country all around the world. Um, some of the cool projects you can work on, for sure, is like designing filtration systems for planes and trains, working on Formula One cars, spacecraft, rockets, satellites, anything that is mechanical you can work on. You can design robots. You can do like machines for the manufacturing industry. You can test and develop technology to assist people with disabilities. You can work on stuff like artificial limbs, stabilization devices, all kinds of stuff like that. Next generation wheelchairs. You can also work with stuff like fluid mechanics, and you can work with models and designs, and you can create materials such as like rotary engines, all kinds of crazy stuff. For sure, though, a key component to any one of these jobs in engineering is having a strong foundation in math. Um, Calculus and physics are very, very important. Let's see. So as far as actually the education of becoming an engineer, um, to put it bluntly, engineering is an extremely rigorous degree. That's why they're kind of touted as being intelligent. It's just because of how hard it is to actually even become an engineer. Um, a bachelor's degree is a minimum. It's often recommended that you go for a master's degree if you're seeking like advancement in your career. You're going to cover a lot of different topics in this educational pathway. Um, I can list a few of them for you. We have electrical engineering classes. You're going to cover like the basics of circuits and electronics. You're going to have programming classes, mostly for the use of MATLAB, which is a program that allows you to analyze graphs and do intense mathematical calculations that a graphing calculator just simply can't handle. You're also going to have to take 2 to 3 years of math that focus heavily on calculus. And you're also going to have some physics classes in there. After you complete like 2 years of your basic education with those kinds of classes, you can move into your more core engineering classes. A couple, I'm not going to go over all of them, but a few of them are going to be like statics, which is a class that focuses on the physics of stationary systems, such as like the forces that act on a bridge, the external and internal forces, and how they kind of interact with each other. You're going to take a dynamics class, which is like a lot like statics, but all of the systems are in motion. You're going to discuss things like energy, momentum, velocity, and it's not just 2D objects, it's 3D objects. You're going to take like a fluid mechanics class, which basically focuses on the properties of fluids like water and air, thermodynamics, kind of like fluids. You're going to take a vibrations class that focuses on analyzing anything that vibrates or why it vibrates, how it affects other things. And then hopefully after graduation, you look for a job, you find a cool company that you enjoy, and then you work on projects that you like. During this process of creating this project, I actually met a working engineer. His name was Clayton. He is a senior mechanical engineer for Dewberry Engineering. He's been an engineer there for a really long time. And he had some great answers to the questions that I asked him. I got really, really lucky. So I was doing a build out for Dewberry Construction in downtown, their Orlando headquarters, and I became acquainted with Clayton. And I asked him a couple questions. He said he would answer them for me. Specifically, I asked him about his job satisfaction. I asked him about like his stress level, how he feels. I asked him like his work-life balance, opportunity for advancement, and then like if he feels like his salary or pay is like if he's being compensated fairly for his time and effort. Um, so this is exactly what he said. He said the stress in this job is usually from project deadlines, which is kind of what I gathered from the internet. He's also saying that projects sometimes go smooth, cough cough, and sometimes not. And when it doesn't, you can be prepared to put in a lot of overtime. Um, Essentially, just you work until that project is complete at the time that needs to be completed. But he also said that other than that, he's really happy. He loves his job. He enjoys what he does. There's lots of opportunity for upward mobility. And he also mentioned that if you want to become very valuable within a company, specialize and become kind of like a rare person, and you'll be extremely valuable to a company. Um, okay, so another thing I noticed, um, all these build-ups that I've done for my job, I've walked into hundreds of different commercial spaces with people working, and something I noticed specifically was engineering firms are completely different than a normal business. It feels different. The people there are different. It's a different environment, and I say this in a good way. Everybody seems to be so friendly and talkative, and it just seems like a really great place to work. Specifically, engineering and working in an engineering type job in an office. It's very very nice. Um, Next on to like pay, overall pay. I mean, you can see the statistics here. The pay is phenomenal. Average engineers, mechanical engineers, start at around 70,000 a year in Florida, which is already 150% more than the average U.S. household makes, which is crazy. If you choose to stay in design, like mechanical engineering, like what you start out as, you can usually expect to make anywhere between 90 to 100K after about 10 to 20 years. Um, the growth rate for mechanical engineering over the next 10 years isn't very large. It's only about 4%. But if you look at the size of the mechanical engineering field and how many mechanical engineers are employed, um, 312,000. That's a lot. Most engineering fields have very little. I'm talking less than 100,000 or maybe even less than 50,000 people employed in the U.S. So their 4 to 6% growth rate is a lot less jobs than our 4 to 6% growth rate. If you want, you can even get into like the management side of mechanical engineering, and then they cap out around 200K, which is over 4 times the U.S. average for household income. And on top of all that, most engineers are offered a lot of benefits. You know, vision, dental, the full healthcare coverage, often given a copious amount of holiday and sick leave. They obviously receive overtime pay, a lot of them. All kinds of stuff. I've even heard of stories of friends of mine getting like stock options or what is it called? Like profit sharing. So they get like a percentage of the profit from that company for the year. And I've actually seen a lot of this advertised as they'll pay towards you getting like a master's degree if you opted to stay with the company, which is fantastic. Also, if you're interested, there's a ton of organizations that you can join for mechanical engineering. We have the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, Institute of Mechanical Engineers, and the International Academy for Production Engineers. There's a couple more that are more specialized, but these I would say the main ones. They are global. They have a following of over 100,000 people in each of them. It's a great way to network and meet people and further your career. If you're serious about engineering, I highly suggest joining one or all of these institutions. It'd just be fantastic for you. And then finally, I guess we can do the summary. So overall, as you can see, mechanical engineering is a high-paying job. It's fulfilling from the engineers that I've talked to. It's exciting for the projects that you get to work on, and the growth potential is just astounding. So, other than that, here are my references. Here's all the information that I got and all of the reliable websites that I used. Yeah. So essentially, engineering is fantastic. The possibility for a fulfilling career that's catered to something that you enjoy is well within reach.